Egypt, the land of the pharaohs, holds a unique place in the annals of history. A civilization that spanned over 3 millennia, it left behind an indelible legacy through its monuments, writings, and influence on subsequent cultures. From the dawn of its unification to the fall of Cleopatra, Egypt's story is one of resilience, innovation, and unparalleled grandeur. The journey begins in the pre-dynastic period, around 6000 BCE, when small communities began to form along the banks of the Nile. The Nile River, stretching over 4,000 miles, became the lifeblood of these early settlers. Its annual flooding deposited rich silt along the banks, creating fertile land that allowed agriculture to flourish. These early Egyptians cultivated wheat, barley, and flax, developing an agricultural surplus that laid the foundation for the complex society to come. By around 3100 BCE, the unification of Upper and Lower Egypt under King Narmer, also known as Menes, marked the beginning of the early dynastic period. This unification was a significant event in world history, establishing one of the earliest centralized states. The pharaohs of this era began to assert their divine right to rule, a concept that would underpin Egyptian governance for millennia. The Narmer Palette, a ceremonial engraving, commemorates this unification and offers one of the earliest examples of hieroglyphic writing. The early dynastic period laid the groundwork for what would become the Old Kingdom, beginning around 2686 BCE. This era, often referred to as the Age of the Pyramids, witnessed the construction of some of Egypt's most iconic structures. Pharaoh Djoser, the second ruler of the Third Dynasty, commissioned the Step Pyramid at Saqqara, the first large-scale stone structure in history. Designed by his architect Imhotep, this pyramid marked a significant evolution in Egyptian architecture and religious thought. The construction of pyramids reached its zenith during the Fourth Dynasty, with the reigns of pharaohs Sneferu, Khufu, Khafre, and Menkaure. The Great Pyramid of Giza, built for Pharaoh Khufu around 2580 BCE, stands as a testament to the organizational skill, advanced engineering, and sheer determination of the ancient Egyptians. It was the tallest man-made structure in the world for over 3,800 years, and its construction remains a marvel, inspiring both awe and speculation about the techniques used to assemble its massive stone blocks. The Old Kingdom was not just an era of monumental construction, it was also a time of cultural and administrative development. The concept of Maut, the principle of truth, balance, and cosmic order, became central to Egyptian society. Pharaohs were seen as the living embodiment of Maut, responsible for maintaining harmony in both the earthly and divine realms. This period also saw the establishment of a bureaucratic system that managed everything from agriculture to religious rituals, laying the foundation for the centralized governance that characterized Egyptian civilization. However, by 2181 BCE, the Old Kingdom began to decline, leading to the First Intermediate Period. This was a time of political fragmentation and social upheaval. The centralized authority of the pharaoh weakened, and regional governors, known as nomarchs, gained power. The Old Kingdom began to decline, central government led to internal conflicts and a breakdown in the control of resources. This was a time of resulting in economic difficulties and a decline in monumental building projects. The centralized authority of the pharaoh weakened, and regional governors, known as nomarchs, around 2055 BC, marked the beginning. The lack of a strong central government led to internal conflicts and a breakdown in prosperity. The control of resources, resulting in economic difficulties and a decline in monumental building reviving the centralized authority of the pharaoh and regional governors known as Nemestor gained a literary masterpiece in the lack of a strong central government led to the valley conflict and breakdown, emphasizing this was a time of political and economic focus on desire development, reviving the centralized authority of the pharaoh and identified a literary masterpiece in the lack of a strong central government led to the valley conflict and breakdown, emphasizing this was a time of political and economic focus on desire development, reviving the centralized authority of the pharaoh and identified a literary masterpiece in the lack of a strong central government led to the valley conflict and breakdown than those of the Old Kingdom. Around 1650 BCE, Egypt entered the Second Intermediate Period, a time marked by the invasion of the Hyksos, a Semitic people from the Levant. The Hyksos introduced several technological innovations to Egypt, including the horse-drawn chariot, composite bows, and improved metalworking techniques. Although the Hyksos rulers adopted many aspects of Egyptian culture, their presence was resented by the native Egyptians, leading to a period of unrest and eventual conflict. The expulsion of the Hyksos by Omosai around 1550 BCE ushered in the New Kingdom, Egypt's most powerful and prosperous era. The New Kingdom is often referred to as Egypt's imperial age, during which the pharaohs expanded their territories beyond the Nile Valley, creating an empire that stretched from Nubia in the south to the Euphrates River in the north. This period is also notable for the wealth of monumental architecture, including the construction of the Valley of the Kings, the temple complex at Karnak, and the mortuary temple of Hatshepsut. Hatshepsut, one of Egypt's few female pharaohs, ruled from 1479 to 1458 BCE and is remembered for her ambitious building projects and successful trading expeditions. Her reign was marked by relative peace and prosperity, allowing her to commission many architectural and artistic works that reinforced her divine status. Her mortuary temple at Deir el-Bahari, with its terraced structure and colonnaded facades, remains one of the most impressive architectural achievements of the New Kingdom. The New Kingdom also saw the reign of Akhenaten, who introduced one of the earliest known forms of monotheism by promoting the worship of the sun god Aten. Akhenaten's religious revolution was radical, as he moved the capital to a new city, Akhetaten, modern-day Amarna, and attempted to diminish the power of the traditional priesthood centered around the god Amun. However, his reforms were largely reversed after his death, and his successor, Tutankhamun, restored the old religious practices. Despite his short reign, Tutankhamun is one of the most famous pharaohs today, largely due to the discovery of his nearly intact tomb in 1922 by Howard Carter. Ramses II, also known as Ramses the Great, reigned for 66 years, from 1279 to 1213 BCE, and is often regarded as the most powerful and celebrated pharaoh of the New Kingdom. His reign was marked by military campaigns, including the famous Battle of Kadesh against the Hittites, one of the earliest recorded battles in history. Ramses II also embarked on an ambitious building program, constructing monumental temples, statues, and obelisks throughout Egypt. The temples at Abu Simbel, carved into a mountainside, are among the most famous of his architectural achievements. Despite its grandeur, the New Kingdom eventually fell into decline, leading to the Third Intermediate Period around 1070 BCE. This era was characterized by political fragmentation, with Egypt divided into multiple regions controlled by various dynasties and foreign powers. The rise of powerful priests of Amun in Thebes further weakened the authority of the pharaohs, contributing to the decline of centralized power. The late period of Egyptian history, beginning around 664 BCE, saw Egypt under the rule of several foreign dynasties, including the Nubians, Assyrians, and Persians. Despite these foreign influences, Egypt managed to retain much of its cultural identity. The Persians, for instance, respected Egyptian traditions and even adopted some aspects of their governance and religion. Egypt's final chapter as an ancient civilization came with the arrival of Alexander the Great in 332 BCE. Alexander's conquest of Egypt marked the beginning of the Hellenistic period, during which the Ptolemaic dynasty ruled. The Ptolemies, though of Greek origin, adopted many aspects of Egyptian culture, including the practice of marrying within the royal family, and presenting themselves as traditional pharaohs. The most famous of the Ptolemaic rulers was Cleopatra VII, whose reign ended with Egypt's annexation by Rome in 30 BCE after her defeat by Octavian, the future Emperor Augustus. Despite the end of its political independence, Egypt's influence persisted under Roman rule. Alexandria, the city founded by Alexander the Great, became one of the most important centers of learning and culture in the ancient world. The Library of Alexandria, although ultimately lost to history, was a symbol of the intellectual achievements of the time, housing thousands of scrolls and attracting scholars from across the Mediterranean. The legacy of ancient Egypt is vast and enduring. Its contributions to art, architecture, science, and religion have had a profound impact on the development of Western civilization. The Egyptians' understanding of medicine, astronomy, and engineering was remarkably advanced for their time, influencing later cultures in ways that are still evident today. The pyramids, the Sphinx, and the treasures of Tutankhamun continue to captivate and inspire people around the world, serving as a testament to the ingenuity and enduring legacy of one of the greatest civilizations in history. As we explore the ruins of temples, decipher hieroglyphs, and uncover the secrets of mummies, we are reminded that Egypt was not just a kingdom of stone, but a vibrant culture that sought to understand the mysteries of life, death, and the cosmos. The civilization of ancient Egypt stands as a beacon of human achievement, its history etched into the sands of time, forever challenging us to unlock the secrets of its timeless legacy. Greek civilization is one of the most profound and lasting legacies in the history of the world. Its influence has shaped Western culture in countless ways, from philosophy and art to politics and science. Our journey begins in the prehistoric era, around 7000 BCE. The earliest inhabitants of Greece lived in small farming communities during the Neolithic period. These early settlers marked the dawn of Greek civilization by domesticating animals, cultivating crops, and crafting pottery. These seemingly simple acts laid the foundation for a society that would eventually give rise to one of the most significant cultures in human history. As we move forward to the Cycladic and Minoan civilizations, we find the first great cultures of the Aegean. The Cycladic civilization, flourishing on the Cyclades Islands, is best known for its distinctive marble figurines, which offer a glimpse into the art and religious practices of the time. Around 2000 BCE, the Minoan civilization emerged on the island of Crete. The Minoans built sophisticated palaces, the most famous being Knossos, a sprawling complex that served as the center of their civilization. The Minoans were skilled seafarers, establishing a powerful maritime empire that dominated the eastern Mediterranean. The Minoan civilization was marked by a rich culture, vibrant art, and an economy based on trade. By 1600 BCE, the Minoan influence began to wane, and the Mycenaean civilization rose to prominence on mainland Greece. The Mycenaeans are perhaps best known for their role in the legendary Trojan War, a conflict immortalized in Homer's epic poems, the Iliad and the Odyssey. Their fortified cities, like Mycenae, Tiryns and Pylos, were centers of power and culture. The Mycenaean civilization was a warrior society, with a strong emphasis on military strength and heroism, values that would resonate throughout Greek history. However, around 1100 BCE, the Mycenaean civilization mysteriously collapsed. The reasons for this collapse are still debated by historians, but it is likely that a combination of natural disasters, internal strife, and invasions by the so-called Sea Peoples contributed to the downfall. This ushered in a period known as the Greek Dark Ages, a time of significant decline. During the Dark Ages, the population of Greece decreased dramatically, and literacy was lost. Yet, even in this time of decline, Greek culture endured. Oral traditions, such as the epic tales of Homer, were passed down through generations, preserving the memory of a heroic past. These stories would later be written down, becoming the cornerstone of Greek literature. By around 800 BCE, Greece began to emerge from its Dark Ages, entering a period of revival known as the Archaic period. City-states like Athens, Sparta, Corinth, and Thebes became powerful entities, each with its own government, economy, and military. The concept of citizenship was born during this time, with individuals identifying themselves as members of a particular polis. This sense of civic identity was central to Greek life, influencing everything from politics and military service to religion and culture. Population growth and limited resources led to a wave of colonization during the Archaic period. Greek city-states established colonies around the Mediterranean and Black Seas, spreading Greek culture far and wide. These colonies were independent of their mother cities but maintained strong cultural and economic ties. The spread of Greek culture through colonization led to increased trade, wealth, and the exchange of ideas across the Mediterranean. One of the most significant developments of the Archaic period was the creation of the Greek alphabet. The Greeks adapted the Phoenician alphabet to suit their own language, creating a writing system that would become the foundation for Greek literature, history, and philosophy. This new alphabet made literacy more accessible, and allowed for the recording of laws, poetry, and historical events. Various forms of government developed across the Greek world, including monarchies, oligarchies, and tyrannies. In Athens, the seeds of democracy were planted, with reforms that gradually gave more power to the citizenry. Culturally, the Archaic period was a time of significant artistic and intellectual achievement. The works of poets like Homer and Hesiod became central to Greek culture, while advances in sculpture and pottery set the stage for the artistic achievements of the Classical period. As we move into the Classical period, beginning around 480 BCE, we enter what is often considered the pinnacle of Greek civilization. This era was marked by extraordinary achievements in art, philosophy, politics, and science, laying the foundation for much of Western culture. The Persian Wars, fought between the Greek city-states and the vast Persian Empire, were a defining moment in Greek history. Against all odds, the Greeks, led by Athens and Sparta, successfully repelled the Persian invasions. Key battles, such as Marathon, Thermopylae, and Salamis, have become legendary, symbolizing the bravery and resilience of the Greeks. The victory over Persia fostered a sense of shared identity among the Greek city-states, despite their often fierce rivalries. This sense of unity, however, would not last long. The Classical period also saw the rise of Athens as the dominant power in Greece, leading to the Golden Age of Athens under the leadership of Pericles. During this time, Athens became the cultural and intellectual heart of the Greek world. The city's wealth and power were reflected in the construction of the Parthenon, a symbol of Athenian democracy and artistic achievement. Pericles promoted the arts, philosophy, and the democratic ideals that would come to define Athens. It was in Athens that some of the greatest minds in history lived and worked. Philosophers like Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle laid the foundations of Western thought, exploring questions of ethics, politics, and the nature of reality. Their ideas have influenced countless generations and continue to be studied and debated today. The classical period also produced remarkable advances in the arts. Greek drama reached new heights with playwrights like Sophocles, Euripides, and Aristophanes, whose works are still performed today. These plays explored complex themes of human nature, morality, and the consequences of hubris. In sculpture, artists like Phidias and Polykleitos created works that celebrated the beauty and idealism of the human form, setting standards that would influence Western art for centuries. However, the prosperity and cultural achievements of Athens were not without their costs. The growing power of Athens led to tensions with other Greek city-states, particularly Sparta. These tensions eventually erupted into the Peloponnesian War, a devastating conflict that pitted Athens against Sparta and their respective allies. The Peloponnesian War lasted for nearly 3 decades and ultimately led to the downfall of Athens. The war weakened the Greek city-states, leaving them vulnerable to outside forces and marking the end of the classical period. Following the Peloponnesian War, Greece entered a period of instability and decline. However, it was during this time that a new power began to rise in the north, Macedon. Under the leadership of King Philip II, Macedon gradually extended its influence over the Greek city-states. But it was Philip's son, Alexander the Great, who would truly change the course of history. The Hellenistic period, which began with Alexander's conquests, marked a new chapter in Greek history. Alexander the Great, a military genius and charismatic leader, embarked on a campaign of conquest that created one of the largest empires in history. His empire stretched from Greece to Egypt and as far east as India, spreading Greek culture across 3 continents. Alexander's campaigns not only expanded Greek territory but also facilitated the exchange of ideas and cultures. The Hellenistic period was characterized by a fusion of Greek and Eastern cultures, leading to new developments in art, architecture, philosophy, and science. After Alexander's death in 323 BCE, his empire fragmented into several Hellenistic kingdoms, each ruled by one of his generals. The most notable of these kingdoms were the Ptolemaic Kingdom in Egypt, the Seleucid Empire in Asia, and the Antigonid dynasty in Macedonia. These kingdoms were centers of learning and culture, where Greek and local traditions blended to create a rich and diverse cultural landscape. The city of Alexandria in Egypt became the intellectual hub of the Hellenistic world. Its famous library, one of the largest in the ancient world, attracted scholars from all over the Mediterranean. Alexandria was a melting pot of cultures and ideas, where Greek, Egyptian, Persian, and Indian influences came together to create new forms of knowledge and art. Despite the achievements of the Hellenistic period, the Greek world was gradually losing its independence. Internal strife and external pressures weakened the Hellenistic kingdoms, making them vulnerable to the rising power of Rome. By 31 BCE, following the defeat of Cleopatra and Mark Antony, Egypt and the rest of the Hellenistic world fell under Roman control. However, the legacy of Greek civilization did not end with its conquest by Rome. On the contrary, Greek culture continued to thrive under Roman rule, influencing every aspect of Roman life. The Romans were deeply inspired by Greek art, architecture, religion, and philosophy, and they adopted many aspects of Greek culture into their own. Greek philosophy and science laid the foundation for much of Western intellectual tradition. Thinkers like Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle shaped the course of Western thought, exploring fundamental questions about the nature of reality, ethics, and human existence. Their works continue to be studied and revered today, forming the basis of much of modern philosophy. In science, Greek scholars made groundbreaking contributions that set the stage for future advancements. Figures like Archimedes, Euclid, and Hippocrates made significant strides in mathematics, physics, and medicine. Their discoveries and methods laid the groundwork for future developments in these fields, influencing scientists and thinkers for centuries to come. Greek art and architecture also left a lasting legacy. The emphasis on proportion, balance, and beauty in Greek art set standards that continue to be admired and emulated today. The Parthenon, with its perfect proportions and intricate sculptures, remains one of the most iconic and influential buildings in the history of architecture. The legacy of Greece is not just a relic of the past, it is a living tradition that continues to inspire and shape the world we live in today. The history of Roman civilization is one of the most fascinating and influential stories in human history. Spanning over a millennium, the civilization evolved from a small city-state in central Italy to a sprawling empire that dominated the Mediterranean world and beyond. The history of Roman civilization, early Rome, circa 753 to 509 BCE, legendary foundation Romulus and Remus. According to Roman mythology, Rome was founded in 753 BCE by Romulus, who, along with his twin brother Remus, was raised by a she-wolf. Romulus became the first king after killing Remus in a quarrel. The Seven Kings of Rome. Rome was initially a monarchy, ruled by a series of 7 kings. These kings were credited with various foundational aspects of Roman society, including the establishment of religious institutions, the Senate, and the first Roman laws. The Etruscan influence. Etruscan kings, the last 3 kings of Rome, were of Etruscan origin, a neighboring civilization that significantly influenced early Roman culture, religion, and architecture. End of monarchy. The monarchy was overthrown in 509 BC after the last king, Tarquin the Proud, was expelled due to his tyrannical rule. This event marked the beginning of the Roman Republic. The Roman Republic, 509 to 27 BCE, the Republican government establishment of the Republic. The Romans established a republic, a system of government in which power was held by elected officials and a complex system of checks and balances. The Senate, composed of Rome's elite, played a central role in governance, advising elected magistrates and guiding foreign and domestic policy. Magistrates, key officials included consuls, executive leaders, praetors, judges, and quaestors, financial officers. Social and political struggles. Patricians versus plebeians. Roman society was divided into the patricians, aristocratic families, and the plebeians, commoners. The struggle for power between these classes led to the conflict of the orders. Plebeian secessions. Throughout the 5th and 4th centuries BCE, plebeians periodically seceded from the city in protest, demanding and gaining political reforms, such as the creation of the Tribune of the Plebs, which protected their interests. Expansion of the Republic. Conquest of Italy. By the mid-3rd century BCE, Rome had conquered most of the Italian peninsula, establishing a network of allies and colonies that bolstered its military power. The Punic Wars. Rome fought 3 wars against Carthage, a powerful North African city-state. The most famous, the Second Punic War, 218 to 201 BCE, featured the Carthaginian general Hannibal, who crossed the Alps to invade Italy. Rome eventually triumphed, leading to its dominance over the Western Mediterranean. Eastern conquests. Following the Punic Wars, Rome expanded into the Eastern Mediterranean, defeating the Hellenistic kingdoms and absorbing vast territories, including Greece, Asia Minor, and Egypt. Internal strife and the fall of the Republic's social and economic issues. The vast expansion led to economic inequality, with wealth concentrated among the elite. This fueled social unrest and led to the rise of populist leaders. Gracchi brothers, Tiberius and Gaius Gracchus attempted to implement land reforms to address economic inequality, but both were killed by conservative factions. Civil wars. The late Republic was marked by a series of civil wars, including conflicts between Marius and Sulla, and later between Julius Caesar and Pompey. These wars weakened the Republic and paved the way for the rise of dictatorial powers. The Roman Empire, 27 BC to 476 CE, the rise of Augustus Julius Caesar's assassination. Caesar's assassination in 44 BCE led to further civil wars. His adopted heir, Octavian, later Augustus, emerged victorious after defeating Mark Antony and Cleopatra at the Battle of Actium in 31 BCE. Augustus reforms. In 27 BCE, Octavian became Augustus, the first Roman emperor. He retained the facade of the Republic while holding supreme power, establishing the Principate system, which marked the beginning of the Roman Empire. Pax Romana. Augustus' reign inaugurated the Pax Romana, Roman peace, a period of relative stability and prosperity that lasted for about 2 centuries. The Julio-Claudian and Flavian dynasties. Julio-Claudian dynasty, 27 BC to 68 CE, the first dynasty of Roman emperors, including Augustus, Tiberius, Caligula, Claudius, and Nero. The period was marked by both political stability and excesses, particularly under Caligula and Nero. Year of the Four Emperors, 69 CE, after Nero's death, Rome experienced a brief civil war known as the Year of the Four Emperors, which ended with the rise of the Flavian dynasty. Flavian dynasty, 69 to 96 CE, the Flavian emperors, particularly Vespasian and his sons Titus and Domitian, restored stability and continued Rome's expansion, including the conquest of Jerusalem in 70 CE. The height of the empire. The 5 good emperors. Nerva to Marcus Aurelius, 96 to 180 CE, the reign of the 5 good emperors, Nerva, Trajan, Hadrian, Antoninus Pius, and Marcus Aurelius, is often seen as the high point of the Roman Empire. These emperors presided over an era of peace, prosperity, and territorial expansion. Cultural and architectural flourishing. This period saw the construction of iconic Roman structures, such as the Pantheon, Trajan's Column, and Hadrian's Wall. The crisis of the 3rd century. Political instability. The 3rd century CE was marked by political chaos, with a rapid succession of emperors, often installed and removed by the military. Economic and military decline. The empire faced severe economic troubles, including hyperinflation and a declining tax base. Simultaneously, external pressures from Germanic tribes and the Sassanid Empire intensified. The Tetrarchy. In an attempt to restore order, Emperor Diocletian, 284 to 305 CE, established the Tetrarchy, dividing the empire into 4 regions, each ruled by a co-emperor. This system temporarily stabilized the empire but ultimately failed. The rise of Christianity. Early persecution. Christianity began as a small Jewish sect but spread rapidly throughout the empire, despite periodic persecution by Roman authorities. Constantine the Great. In 312 CE, Emperor Constantine converted to Christianity and issued the Edict of Milan in 313 CE, granting religious tolerance to Christians. He later convened the Council of Nicaea in 325 CE, which helped to define Christian doctrine. Christianity as state religion. In 380 CE, Emperor Theodosius I declared Christianity the official religion of the Roman Empire, leading to the widespread conversion of the population, and the decline of traditional Roman religions. The decline and fall of the Western Roman Empire. 4th-5th centuries CE, division of the Empire. Constantinople. In 330 CE, Constantine established Constantinople, modern-day Istanbul, as the new capital of the Roman Empire, further shifting power to the east. Permanent division. Upon Theodosius I's death in 395 CE, the empire was permanently divided into the Western Roman Empire and the Eastern Roman Empire, later known as the Byzantine Empire. Barbarian invasions, Huns and Germanic tribes. The Western Roman Empire faced increasing pressure from various barbarian groups, including the Visigoths, Vandals, and Huns. These groups began to invade and settle in Roman territories. Sack of Rome. In 410 CE, the Visigoths, led by Alaric, sacked Rome. This event was a significant psychological blow to the Romans and marked the beginning of the end for the Western Empire. The fall of the Western Roman Empire. Deposition of Romulus Augustulus, the last Roman emperor of the West. Romulus Augustulus was deposed by the Germanic chieftain Odoacer in 476 CE. This event is traditionally considered the end of the Western Roman Empire. Survival of the Eastern Roman Empire. While the Western Empire collapsed, the Eastern Roman Empire, or Byzantine Empire, continued to thrive for nearly another 1,000 years, preserving much of Roman culture and law. The legacy of Roman civilization. Legal and political legacy. Roman law, particularly the Justinian Code, has had a profound influence on the legal systems of many modern nations. Republicanism. The Roman Republic's system of government, with its emphasis on checks and balances, has inspired political thought and institutions throughout history, including the founding principles of modern democracies. The cultural and architectural legacy. Language. Latin, the language of the Romans, is the root of the Romance languages, Italian, French, Spanish, Portuguese, Romanian, and has significantly influenced English and other languages. Architecture and engineering. Roman architectural and engineering achievements, such as the use of the arch, the aqueduct, and concrete, have had a lasting impact on construction and design. Art and literature. Roman art, literature, and philosophy, heavily influenced by the Greeks, have been foundational to Western culture. The spread of Christianity. Christianity's global influence. The spread of Christianity, which became deeply intertwined with Roman culture and governance, has had a profound and lasting impact on global history, shaping religious, cultural, and social developments for centuries. The history of Roman civilization is a complex tapestry of political evolution, military conquest, cultural achievements, and enduring legacies. From its humble beginnings as a small city-state to its peak as a vast empire, Rome's influence on law, politics, architecture, language, and religion has shaped the world in countless ways, leaving a legacy that continues to resonate in modern times. Imagine a civilization that spanned 3 continents, from the fertile valleys of the Indus River to the coastlines of the Aegean Sea, influencing cultures far beyond its borders. This was the Persian Empire, a powerhouse of the ancient world that shaped history in profound ways. Our journey begins with Cyrus the Great, a leader whose vision and military genius laid the foundation for one of the largest empires the world had ever seen. Born around 600 BCE, Cyrus was a member of the Achaemenid dynasty, claiming descent from the semi-legendary figure Achaemenes. By 550 BCE, Cyrus had successfully rebelled against his grandfather, the Median king Astyages, and took control of Media, a critical first step in his path to greatness. Cyrus didn't stop at Media. He set his sights on Lydia, a wealthy kingdom in Anatolia, known for its riches and ruled by King Croesus. The conquest of Lydia around 547 BCE was a significant achievement, bringing the prosperous western coast of Anatolia under Persian control. This victory not only expanded Cyrus's empire but also gave him access to the Aegean Sea, further solidifying Persia's dominance. One of Cyrus's most famous campaigns was the conquest of Babylon in 539 BCE. Babylon, one of the greatest cities of the ancient world, fell to Cyrus in a bloodless victory, marking a pivotal moment in history. Cyrus's entrance into Babylon was celebrated for its magnanimity. He respected local customs and religions, a policy that earned him the loyalty of his new subjects. This is famously recorded in the Cyrus Cylinder, often considered the first declaration of human rights, where he proclaimed freedom for those held in captivity, including the Jewish people, allowing them to return to Jerusalem. Cyrus's empire stretched from the Indus River in the east to the Aegean Sea in the west, an empire of unprecedented scale and diversity. His policies of tolerance and efficient governance set a precedent that would influence future empires, making him not just a conqueror, but a statesman admired through the ages. After Cyrus's death in 530 BCE, his son Cambyses too inherited the throne. Cambyses continued his father's expansionist policies, most notably conquering Egypt in 525 BCE. The conquest of Egypt was a significant milestone, bringing one of the oldest and most sophisticated civilizations under Persian rule. However, Cambyses's reign was also marked by reports of cruelty and mental instability, casting a shadow over his achievements. His mysterious death in 522 BCE led to a period of chaos within the empire, but it also paved the way for one of Persia's greatest rulers, Darius I. Darius I, known as Darius the Great, took the throne after a period of civil war and quickly set about restoring order to the empire. Darius was not just a warrior but a visionary administrator. He divided the empire into satrapies, or provinces, each governed by a satrap who reported directly to the king. This system allowed for efficient management of the vast empire, ensuring that local traditions and laws were respected while maintaining central control. Darius also introduced a uniform tax system, which helped to stabilize the empire's economy and ensure a steady flow of revenue to the central government. One of his most enduring legacies is the construction of the Royal Road, a massive infrastructure project that connected the empire from Susa in Persia to Sardis in Anatolia. This road not only facilitated trade and communication but also allowed for the rapid movement of troops, ensuring that the king's authority was felt throughout the empire. Darius's reign was also marked by his ambitious campaigns of expansion. He pushed the empire's borders eastward into the Indus Valley, and westward into Europe, where he encountered the fiercely independent Greek city-states. Darius's attempt to subdue Greece ended in the famous Battle of Marathon in 490 BCE, where the Persians were defeated by a smaller but highly motivated Athenian force. This battle was a turning point, marking the beginning of the long and bitter Greco-Persian Wars. Xerxes I, Darius's son, inherited the throne in 486 BCE and sought to avenge his father's defeat. Xerxes is perhaps best known for his massive invasion of Greece in 480 BCE. He assembled one of the largest armies of the ancient world, crossing the Hellespont on a bridge of boats and marching through the Greek mainland. Despite initial successes, including the capture and burning of Athens, Xerxes's campaign ultimately faltered. The decisive naval battle at Salamis saw his fleet destroyed by the outnumbered Greek forces, and the following year, his army was decisively beaten at the Battle of Plataea. These defeats marked the beginning of the decline of the Achaemenid Empire, as the Greeks began to see themselves as equals to the mighty Persians. Even as the empire faced external challenges, internal issues began to strain the Achaemenid rulers. Successive kings, including Artaxerxes I and Darius II, struggled to maintain the unity of the empire. Satraps grew increasingly powerful and independent, and court intrigues further weakened the central authority. Despite these issues, the empire remained a significant power, maintaining its vast territories through a combination of military strength and diplomatic alliances. However, by the 4th century BCE, a new threat emerged from the west in the form of Alexander the Great of Macedonia. In 334 BCE, Alexander launched his campaign against the Persian Empire, a campaign that would ultimately lead to its downfall. The young Macedonian king, inspired by stories of the great Persian kings, sought not only to conquer but also to emulate them. His campaign was swift and brutal, defeating the Persian armies in a series of battles, including the famous Battle of Issus in 333 BCE. Alexander's capture of Persian capitals like Susa, Persepolis, and Ecbatana marked the effective end of the Achaemenid Empire. Darius III, the last Achaemenid king, was unable to withstand Alexander's onslaught. Defeated in several key battles, Darius was eventually betrayed and murdered by one of his own satraps in 330 BCE, marking the tragic end of the Achaemenid dynasty. Alexander's conquest of Persia not only marked the end of an era but also laid the groundwork for the Hellenistic period, where Greek and Persian cultures would blend in unprecedented ways. After Alexander's untimely death in 323 BCE, his empire was divided among his generals, leading to the rise of the Seleucid Empire in Persia. Founded by Seleucus I Nicator, the Seleucid Empire struggled to maintain control over its vast territories, facing constant rebellions from native Persian rulers and the emerging threat of the Parthians. The Parthian Empire, established by Arsaces I in 247 BCE, marked a new chapter in Persian history. The Parthians, originally a nomadic tribe from the steppes of Central Asia, managed to carve out a new Persian state, blending their traditions with those of the ancient Persians. The Parthians were known for their formidable cavalry, especially their horse archers, who became legendary for their ability to shoot arrows while retreating, a tactic that confounded their enemies. One of the Parthians' most significant achievements was their victory over the Roman Republic at the Battle of Carrhae in 53 BCE. This battle showcased the Parthians' military prowess and established them as a formidable power in the Near East. Despite frequent conflicts with Rome, the Parthians managed to maintain their independence for nearly 5 centuries, ruling over a vast and culturally diverse empire. The Parthians would eventually give way to the Sassanid Empire, founded by Ardashir I in 224 CE. The Sassanids sought to revive the glory of the Achaemenid Empire, centralizing their administration, and promoting Zoroastrianism as the state religion. Under kings like Shapur I and Khosrow I, the Sassanid Empire became a powerful and culturally vibrant state, engaging in frequent wars with the Roman and Byzantine empires. Shapur I, one of the most successful Sassanid kings, famously captured the Roman Emperor Valerian in battle, a humiliation that echoed throughout the Roman world. The Sassanids, like their predecessors, saw themselves as the rightful heirs to the Persian legacy, and their empire became a beacon of cultural and intellectual achievements. The reign of Khosrow I, often considered the golden age of the Sassanid Empire, was marked by significant administrative reforms, the patronage of arts and sciences, and the construction of grand architectural projects. However, the Sassanid Empire, like those before it, began to decline in the 6th and 7th centuries. Continuous wars with the Byzantine Empire drained resources and weakened the state, while internal strife and economic difficulties further destabilized the empire. The final blow came with the rise of Islam. In 633 CE, Arab Muslim forces began their invasion of Persia, and within a few short years, they had overthrown the Sassanid dynasty. The decisive Battle of Al-Qadisiyah in 636 CE marked the end of Sassanid resistance, and in 651 CE, the last Sassanid king, Yazdegerd III, was killed, bringing an end to the ancient Persian empires. But the fall of the Sassanid Empire was not the end of Persian culture. Instead, it marked a new chapter in which Persian traditions, language, and culture would continue to influence the Islamic world and beyond. The Persian empires left a lasting legacy on world history, From their pioneering administrative systems and monumental architecture to their contributions to art, literature, and religion. Today, the influence of the Persian empires is still felt in modern Iran and across the Middle East. Persian concepts of kingship, governance, and cultural achievement continue to shape the region's identity. The history of the Persian empires is not just a tale of conquest and empire building, it's a story of resilience, cultural synthesis, and the enduring power of one of the world's greatest civilizations.
Imagine an empire so vast that it connected the farthest reaches of Asia with the heart of Europe. An empire born from the harsh, windswept steppes of Central Asia and forged by one of history's most formidable leaders, Genghis Khan. This is the story of the Mongol Empire, a force that would change the world forever. The Mongol Empire's origins are humble and deeply rooted in the nomadic life of the Central Asian steppes. Various tribes roamed these lands, constantly clashing over resources, power, and survival. Among them was a young boy named Temujin, born around 1162. His early life was marked by extreme hardship, the murder of his father, the betrayal and abandonment by his own tribe, and years of struggle just to survive. But Temujin was no ordinary boy. Driven by a fierce determination, he began to unite the Mongol tribes under his leadership. Through a combination of personal charisma, strategic marriages, and military prowess, Temujin gradually emerged as the most powerful leader of the steppes. By 1206, after a series of victorious battles and alliances, he was proclaimed Genghis Khan, the universal ruler, at a grand assembly of Mongol chiefs known as a Kurultai. This moment marked the official founding of the Mongol Empire. With his new title, Genghis Khan embarked on an ambitious campaign of conquest. His military strategies were innovative and devastating, combining the mobility of the Mongol cavalry with psychological warfare and superior tactics. One of his first major targets was the Jin dynasty of northern China, a powerful and wealthy empire that had long exerted control over the Mongol steppes. The Mongol campaigns against the Jin were brutal and effective. Genghis Khan's forces used their mastery of siege technology and fearsome cavalry charges to crush Jin resistance. In 1215, they captured the Jin capital, Zhongdu, known today as Beijing. This victory was not just a military success, it was a statement of the Mongol Empire's growing power and influence. With China partially subdued, Genghis Khan turned his attention westward to the Khwarezmian Empire, a prosperous realm that controlled much of present-day Iran, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, and Kazakhstan. The Khwarezmian Shah made the fatal mistake of executing Mongol envoys, a grave insult that sparked Genghis Khan's wrath. What followed was a campaign of utter devastation. Mongol forces swept through the Khwarezmian cities, destroying them, massacring populations, and incorporating the survivors into the Mongol Empire. The destruction of Khwarezm demonstrated the terrifying power of the Mongol war machine and sent a clear message to other would-be challengers. By the time of Genghis Khan's death in 1227, the Mongol Empire stretched from the Pacific Ocean to the Caspian Sea. But the story of the Mongol Empire didn't end with Genghis Khan. His successors, including his sons and grandsons, continued to expand the empire, pushing its borders further and further. One of the most significant expansions came under the leadership of Genghis Khan's grandson, Batu Khan. Batu led the Mongol armies on a campaign into Europe that would spread fear and chaos across the continent. Between 1236 and 1242, the Mongols invaded Russia, Poland, Hungary, and parts of the Balkans. Cities were razed, armies annihilated, and entire populations displaced. The Mongol invasion of Europe was so devastating that it became known as the Mongol Terror. However, this campaign came to an abrupt halt in 1241 when news of Ogedei Khan's death reached Batu. The Mongol princes returned to Mongolia to choose a new great Khan, leaving Europe in a state of shocked relief. While the western expansion of the Mongol Empire created terror, the eastern part of the empire continued to grow under the leadership of another of Genghis Khan's grandsons, Kublai Khan. Kublai's vision was different from that of his predecessors. He aimed not just to conquer, but to rule and integrate the diverse cultures within his empire. In 1271, he founded the Yuan dynasty in China, after defeating the Southern Song dynasty in 1279. This marked the first time in history that all of China was unified under foreign rule. The Yuan dynasty would govern China for nearly a century, during which time Kublai Khan promoted cultural and economic exchanges between East and West, fostering a vibrant multicultural empire. But the Mongol Empire was not only a military powerhouse, it was also a sophisticated and innovative administrative entity. Genghis Khan implemented the Yasa, a legal code that emphasized discipline, loyalty, and unity among the diverse peoples of the empire. The Yasa was instrumental in maintaining order across the vast and varied territories of the Mongol Empire, covering everything from military discipline to trade regulations and family law. Under Mongol rule, the Silk Road, the ancient trade route connecting the East and West, was revitalized. The Mongols ensured the safety of merchants and travelers, leading to a period known as the Pax Mongolica, or Mongol Peace. This era saw the flourishing of trade, the exchange of technologies such as gunpowder, papermaking, and the compass, and the spread of cultural and religious ideas across continents. The Mongols, known for their military brutality, were surprisingly tolerant of different religions, allowing the practice of Buddhism, Christianity, Islam, and traditional shamanistic practices within their empire. This religious tolerance helped to maintain stability in their diverse empire and encouraged the blending of cultures. The Mongol Empire became a melting pot of civilizations. Chinese, Persian, Arab, and European influences mingled, leading to advancements in astronomy, medicine, and literature. The Mongols themselves became patrons of the arts and sciences, contributing to a legacy that would influence the world long after their empire had faded. However, the Mongol Empire, like all empires, was not immune to decline. The seeds of fragmentation were sown in the late 13th century, as internal strife and succession struggles weakened the central authority. After Kublai Khan's death in 1294, the empire began to fracture. The centralized power of the Great Khan diminished as regional khanates, such as the Golden Horde in Russia, the Ilkhanate in Persia, the Chagatai Khanate in Central Asia, and the Yuan dynasty in China, became more autonomous. Cultural and administrative challenges further strained the empire. In regions like China, the Mongols struggled to adapt to local customs and governance, leading to alienation and resistance from the population. The empire's economy, heavily reliant on trade, began to falter due to internal conflicts and the eventual loss of key territories. The spread of the Black Death in the mid-14th century dealt a final blow, decimating populations and disrupting trade routes across Eurasia. Rebellions also took their toll. In China, the Yuan dynasty faced mounting opposition from the Han Chinese, culminating in the rise of the Ming dynasty in 1368, which ousted the Mongols from China. Elsewhere, local rulers asserted their independence, and the once mighty Mongol Empire fragmented into smaller, more manageable states. Yet, despite its decline, the legacy of the Mongol Empire is undeniable. It played a crucial role in shaping the political, cultural, and economic landscapes of Eurasia. The Mongol conquests facilitated the spread of ideas, technologies, and cultural practices across vast distances, leaving an indelible mark on the development of societies across Europe and Asia. The Mongol Empire's administrative practices, particularly their meritocratic military and emphasis on trade routes, influenced the governance of subsequent empires, including the Russian Tsardom and the Ottoman Empire. The concept of a vast multicultural empire governed by a single overarching legal code is a testament to the Mongols' administrative genius. In the centuries since the fall of the Mongol Empire, historians have debated the Mongols' legacy. Were they ruthless conquerors who brought death and destruction, or were they agents of cultural and economic exchange, paving the way for a more interconnected world? The truth, as is often the case, lies somewhere in between. The Mongols were both destroyers and builders, conquerors and administrators, brutal warriors and patrons of the arts. In conclusion, the Mongol Empire was a transformative force in world history. It reshaped the political, cultural and economic landscape of Eurasia through its military conquests, administrative innovations and cultural exchanges. Though it eventually fragmented and declined, the empire's influence continues to be felt in the regions it once controlled. The story of the Mongol Empire is a reminder of the profound impact that one group of people can have on the course of history, and it remains a pivotal chapter in the history of Eurasia. The Ottoman Empire, one of the most powerful and enduring empires in world history, left an indelible mark on 3 continents over its 6th-century reign. It all began in 1299 in the rugged lands of Anatolia. Osman I, a visionary leader, laid the foundation of what would become a colossal empire. Starting as a small Turkish principality, the Ottomans steadily expanded, driven by the spirit of the Ghazis, warriors dedicated to the expansion of Islam. By 1326, Osman's successors had captured Bursa, marking the first significant Ottoman victory and setting the stage for the empire's future capital. As the empire grew, so did its ambitions. Under Orhan, Osman's son, the Ottomans began to establish themselves as a dominant force in the region. Orhan's strategic marriage alliances and military conquests extended Ottoman control into Europe. His successors, Murad I and Bayezid I, further pushed the empire's boundaries, bringing the Balkans under Ottoman rule and challenging European powers on multiple fronts. But the empire's expansion wasn't without challenges. The Battle of Ankara in 1402, where Bayezid was defeated by Timur, brought the empire to the brink of collapse. This period of chaos, known as the Interregnum, threatened to undo all that had been achieved. Yet, the Ottomans were resilient. By 1413, they had reunited their fragmented territories and were poised to resume their conquests. The defining moment of Ottoman history came in 1453. Sultan Mehmed II, known as Mehmed the Conqueror, achieved the unthinkable by capturing Constantinople. This victory not only marked the end of the Byzantine Empire, but also established the Ottomans as the supreme power in the Eastern Mediterranean. Constantinople, renamed Istanbul, became the heart of the empire, a vibrant capital that symbolized Ottoman strength and cultural brilliance. Mehmed II's reign set the stage for further expansion. His successors, particularly Selim I, expanded the empire's reach into the Middle East and North Africa. By defeating the Mamluks and securing the holy cities of Mecca and Medina, Selim I established the Ottomans as the foremost Islamic power, a position that would solidify their influence for centuries to come. The empire reached its zenith under Suleiman the Magnificent, who ruled from 1520 to 1566. Suleiman was not just a conqueror, but a statesman and patron of the arts. His reign was marked by sweeping military victories, including the capture of Belgrade, the defeat of Hungary at the Battle of Mohacs, and the audacious siege of Vienna. Under Suleiman, the empire stretched from the gates of Vienna in the west to the deserts of Arabia in the east, from the steppes of Crimea in the north to the shores of North Africa in the south. But Suleiman's legacy wasn't only in conquest. He was known as the lawgiver for his reforms in law and administration. By codifying Ottoman law, he created a legal system that blended Islamic principles with the diverse traditions of the empire's vast territories. The cultural achievements during his reign were equally impressive, with Istanbul becoming a center of learning, art and architecture. The Süleymaniye Mosque, an architectural masterpiece, stands as a testament to the golden age of the Ottoman Empire. However, after Suleiman's death, the empire began to show signs of decline. The centuries that followed were marked by internal strife, economic challenges, and military setbacks. The failed siege of Vienna in 1683 signaled the end of Ottoman expansion into Europe and began a long period of territorial losses. The 18th century was particularly challenging. The Ottomans faced continuous pressure from rising European powers like Russia and Austria. The loss of Crimea in 1783 and other territorial concessions weakened the empire's grip on its vast domains. Attempts at reform by sultans like Selim III and Mahmud II were met with resistance, and while some changes were implemented, they were often too little, too late. The 19th century brought about the Tanzimat era, a period of extensive reforms aimed at modernizing the empire. These reforms sought to centralize power, modernize the military, and create a more inclusive society by granting equal rights to all citizens, regardless of religion. Despite these efforts, the empire continued to lose territories, particularly in the Balkans, where nationalist movements gained momentum. The Young Turk Revolution of 1908 brought a glimmer of hope for revitalizing the empire. However, internal divisions and external pressures, including the Balkan Wars and the looming threat of World War I, further weakened the Ottoman state. World War I proved to be the final blow. The Ottomans, aligned with the Central Powers, suffered devastating defeats and lost control of key territories in the Middle East. The post-war period saw the occupation of Istanbul by Allied forces and the partitioning of the empire's remaining territories. The Treaty of Sèvres in 1920 sought to dismantle the Ottoman Empire, but it was never fully implemented due to the rise of Turkish nationalist forces led by Mustafa Kemal Atatürk. The Turkish War of Independence, fought from 1919 to 1923, marked the end of the Ottoman Empire and the birth of the modern Republic of Turkey. The last Ottoman Sultan, Mehmed VI, was deposed in 1922. And with the signing of the Treaty of Lausanne in 1923, the Ottoman Empire was officially dissolved. But the legacy of the Ottoman Empire endures. Its influence can still be seen in the cultural, architectural, and legal landscapes of the modern Middle East, Southeast Europe, and North Africa. The empire's architectural heritage, particularly in Istanbul, remains a symbol of its past glory, with landmarks like the Hagia Sophia, Topkapi Palace, and the Blue Mosque standing as reminders of the empire's grandeur. The Ottoman Empire was also a remarkable example of a multi-ethnic, multi-religious state. Through its millet system, the empire managed a diverse population, allowing different religious communities a degree of autonomy that shaped the social and cultural dynamics of the region. Moreover, the collapse of the Ottoman Empire led to the creation of several modern nation-states in the Middle East, Southeast Europe, and North Africa. The borders drawn during the empire's partition continue to influence the political landscape of these regions today. The story of the Ottoman Empire is a testament to the complexities of history, of rise and fall, of power and legacy. It serves as a reminder of the enduring impact that empires can have on the world, long after they have faded from the map.
China's history spans over 4,000 years, a narrative that has shaped one of the most enduring civilizations on Earth. We begin in ancient China, around 2100 BCE, with the legendary Xia dynasty. Though its existence blends myth with history, the Xia are credited with laying the foundations of Chinese civilization. Centered in the Yellow River Valley, they advanced early agriculture, developing the methods of irrigation that would sustain China's growing population for millennia. Following the Xia, around 1600 BCE, the Shang dynasty emerged as the first historically verified dynasty in China. The Shang era is notable for its advances in metallurgy and the creation of a centralized state. The Shang rulers left behind a rich legacy in the form of oracle bones, the earliest known form of Chinese writing. Around 1046 BCE, the Zhou dynasty overthrew the Shang and introduced the concept of the Mandate of Heaven, a divine right to rule that would justify the reigns of countless emperors to come. The Zhou period is divided into two: the Western Zhou, a time of relative peace and prosperity, and the Eastern Zhou, a time marked by fragmentation and the rise of the Warring States period. Confucianism, Taoism, and legalism emerged, offering competing visions of morality, governance, and the cosmos. These schools of thought would influence Chinese society and politics for centuries. As the Zhou dynasty weakened, China splintered into competing states, leading to the Warring States period, circa 475 to 221 BCE. This era of constant warfare also brought about military and technological innovations, including the crossbow and advances in iron weaponry. The relentless conflict finally culminated in the unification of China under the Qin dynasty in 221 BCE. The Qin dynasty marked a turning point in Chinese history. Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor, centralized power in a way that had never been seen before. His reign was marked by monumental projects, such as the construction of the early Great Wall and the famous Terracotta Army, a testament to his desire for immortality. Qin Shi Huang also standardized weights, measures, and the written script across China, ensuring greater cohesion in his vast empire. However, his harsh legalist policies, which included severe punishments and heavy taxation, led to widespread unrest. The dynasty collapsed shortly after his death, but its influence on Chinese statecraft was profound. The fall of the Qin led to the rise of the Han dynasty in 206 BCE, a period often considered one of the golden ages of Chinese civilization. The Han dynasty, which lasted for over 4 centuries, expanded China's borders significantly, reaching Central Asia and Korea. This expansion facilitated the establishment of the Silk Road, a trade network that connected China with the West, allowing for an exchange of goods, ideas, and culture. Under the Han, Confucianism was established as the state philosophy, shaping the moral and political fabric of Chinese society. This era also saw advancements in science, technology, and the arts, with inventions like paper and the seismograph emerging during this time. However, the Han dynasty eventually weakened due to internal strife, leading to a period of division known as the Three Kingdoms, 220 to 280 CE. This era is famous for its intense warfare, as rival states, Wei, Shu, and Wu, vied for control of China. The Three Kingdoms period has been immortalized in Chinese literature, particularly in the historical novel Romance of the Three Kingdoms, which remains a classic of Chinese culture. Despite the political fragmentation, this period saw significant developments in military strategy and cultural production. After the turmoil of the Three Kingdoms, the Jin dynasty briefly reunited China in 266 CE, but it was plagued by internal conflicts and eventually succumbed to invasions by nomadic tribes. This led to the Southern and Northern dynasties period, 420 to 589 CE, where China was once again divided. Despite the political fragmentation, this era was one of cultural and technological advancement. Buddhism, which had been introduced to China during the Han dynasty, flourished and became deeply integrated into Chinese culture. Technological innovations, such as the invention of the water wheel, continued to shape the economy and daily life. The Sui dynasty, 581 to 618 CE, reunited China after centuries of division. Although the dynasty was short-lived, it was pivotal in setting the stage for the subsequent Tang dynasty. The Sui undertook massive public works projects, most notably the construction of the Grand Canal, which connected the Yellow and Yangtze rivers and facilitated the transport of goods and people across vast distances. However, the strain of these projects, coupled with military overreach, led to widespread rebellion and the dynasty's downfall. The Tang dynasty, 618 to 907 CE, is often considered the zenith of Chinese civilization. It was a time of unparalleled cultural, artistic, and economic achievement. The capital, Chang'an, became the largest and most cosmopolitan city in the world, attracting traders, scholars, and artists from across Asia and beyond. The Tang era saw the flourishing of poetry, painting, and music, with figures like the poet Li Bai leaving a lasting legacy. Buddhism reached its height during this time, influencing art, literature, and philosophy. However, internal strife, including the Lushan Rebellion, and external pressures from nomadic invaders eventually led to the Tang's decline. Following the Tang, China entered a period of disunity known as the Five Dynasties and Ten Kingdoms, 907 to 960 CE. This era of fragmentation was marked by political chaos, but it was also a time of cultural development, particularly in the southern regions. Despite the lack of centralized control, local rulers continued to patronize the arts and support technological innovation, laying the groundwork for the next phase of Chinese history. The Song dynasty, 960 to 1279 CE, succeeded in reuniting China, ushering in a period of economic prosperity and technological innovation. The Song era is notable for its advances in agriculture, such as the widespread use of fast-growing rice, which supported a rapidly expanding population. Urbanization increased, with cities like Kaifeng and Hangzhou becoming bustling centers of trade and culture. The Song dynasty also saw the invention of gunpowder, the compass, and movable type printing, technologies that would eventually spread to the rest of the world. However, the Song faced constant threats from northern invaders and eventually lost the northern half of its territory to the Joseon-led Jin dynasty, leading to the division between the northern Song and southern Song periods. In 1271, the Mongols, under the leadership of Kublai Khan, established the Yuan dynasty, 1271 to 1368 CE, marking the first time China was ruled by a foreign power. The Yuan dynasty maintained much of the existing Chinese cultural framework, but it faced significant resistance from the Han Chinese population. The Mongols implemented a rigid social hierarchy, with the Mongols at the top, followed by various ethnic groups, with the Han Chinese at the bottom. Despite this, the Yuan era was one of considerable cultural exchange, as the Mongol Empire connected China with other parts of Asia and Europe. The dynasty's capital, Khan Balik, modern-day Beijing, became a hub of international trade and diplomacy. However, the Yuan struggled with internal strife and peasant uprisings, leading to its eventual downfall. The fall of the Yuan dynasty paved the way for the Ming dynasty, 1368 to 1644 CE, a period marked by strong central government and significant cultural achievements. The Ming emperors worked to restore Chinese traditions and revitalize the economy after years of Mongol rule. One of the most notable figures of the Ming era was the naval explorer Zheng He, who led 7 massive expeditions to Southeast Asia, South Asia, the Middle East, and East Africa, spreading Chinese influence across the Indian Ocean. The Ming dynasty also saw the construction of the Forbidden City in Beijing, an architectural marvel that symbolized the power and grandeur of the Chinese Empire. However, the dynasty eventually declined due to corruption, internal strife, and external pressures, leading to its fall to the Manchus. The Qing dynasty, 1644 to 1912 CE, established by the Manchus, was the last imperial dynasty of China. The Qing era was one of territorial expansion, with China annexing regions such as Taiwan, Tibet, and Xinjiang. The dynasty maintained a complex bureaucracy and a rigid social structure, but it also faced numerous challenges in the 19th century. The Opium Wars with Britain exposed China's vulnerability to Western powers, leading to a series of humiliating treaties and the loss of Hong Kong. The Qing also faced internal revolts, such as the Taiping Rebellion, which further weakened the dynasty. As Western influence grew, China struggled to modernize while maintaining its traditions. The Qing dynasty finally collapsed in 1912, ending over 2,000 years of imperial rule. The fall of the Qing dynasty led to the establishment of the Republic of China in 1912. The Xinhai Revolution, led by figures like Sun Yat-sen, sought to create a modern, democratic state. However, the early years of the Republic were marked by instability, as China fragmented into regions controlled by warlords. The central government struggled to assert its authority, and the country became mired in political and military conflicts. The Chinese Civil War between the Kuomintang nationalists and the Communist Party of China, CPC, began in 1927, further destabilizing the nation. Although the Civil War was interrupted by the Second Sino-Japanese War, 1937 to 1945, it resumed after World War II, leading to the victory of the Communists in 1949. With the establishment of the People's Republic of China in 1949, under the leadership of Mao Zedong, China underwent profound social and political changes. Mao's policies, such as the Great Leap Forward and the Cultural Revolution, aimed to rapidly transform China into a socialist state. However, these initiatives led to widespread famine, social upheaval, and the destruction of cultural heritage. The Cultural Revolution, in particular, sought to purge China of capitalist, traditional, and cultural elements, resulting in a decade of chaos and repression. After Mao's death in 1976, Deng Xiaoping emerged as China's new leader, ushering in an era of economic reform and modernization. Deng's policies opened China to the global market, allowing for private enterprise and foreign investment. This period marked the beginning of China's rapid economic growth, transforming it from a largely agrarian society into one of the world's leading industrial powers. The country saw unprecedented urbanization, technological advancement, and a rise in living standards for millions of people. Modern China continues to evolve as a major global power, with its leaders focusing on maintaining tight political control under the Communist Party while navigating complex domestic and international challenges. Under the leadership of figures like Jiang Zemin, Hu Jintao, and Xi Jinping, China has expanded its influence worldwide through initiatives like the Belt and Road, while also addressing issues such as economic inequality, environmental degradation, and human rights debates. China's history is a complex narrative of dynastic cycles, philosophical evolution, technological advancements, and social change. As one of the most influential civilizations in world history, China's past offers invaluable insights into its present and future on the global stage.
Japan's history is a rich and complex journey spanning thousands of years. From ancient times to the present day, each period has contributed to the country's unique identity and culture. Let's start with prehistoric Japan. The Jomon period, beginning around 14,000 BCE, marks the dawn of Japanese civilization. The Jomon people were hunter-gatherers who lived in harmony with nature, developing one of the oldest known pottery traditions in the world. Their pottery, decorated with intricate chord patterns, reflects a deep connection to their environment. These early people lived in simple pit dwellings, relying on the bounty of the forests, rivers, and sea. As time progressed, Japan entered the Yayoi period around 300 BCE. This era brought significant changes. The Yayoi people introduced rice agriculture, which became the backbone of Japanese society. With rice farming came the need for settled communities, leading to the development of villages and the rise of a more stratified society. Metalworking also advanced during this time, with bronze and iron tools and weapons making their appearance. This period laid the foundations for the complex social and political structures that would define Japan in the centuries to come. Classical Japan began with the Kofun period, around 250 CE. This era is named after the large burial mounds, or kofun, built for the ruling elite. These massive tombs, some shaped like keyholes, symbolize the emergence of powerful clans who controlled vast territories. Among these clans, the Yamato clan began to dominate, establishing the foundations of a centralized government that would evolve over time. The Asuka period, from 538 to 710 CE, marked a pivotal moment in Japanese history with the introduction of Buddhism. This new religion, brought from Korea, profoundly influenced Japanese culture, politics, and society. Prince Shotoku, a key figure during this time, was instrumental in promoting Buddhism and establishing a government based on Chinese models. The Asuka period also saw the beginning of Japan's diplomatic relations with neighboring countries, as the Japanese court sought to learn from the advanced cultures of China and Korea. The Nara period from 710 to 794 CE is named after Japan's first permanent capital, Nara. Modeled after the Chinese capital of Chang'an, Nara became the political and cultural heart of Japan. During this time, the Japanese state consolidated its power, codifying laws and establishing a bureaucratic system that would endure for centuries. Buddhism flourished, with the construction of grand temples like Todaiji, home to the great Buddha statue, symbolizing the fusion of religion and state power. The Heian period, lasting from 794 to 1185, is often considered the golden age of classical Japanese culture. The capital moved to Heian-kyo, modern-day Kyoto, where the imperial court became the center of a refined and sophisticated aristocratic culture. This period is celebrated for its literature, particularly The Tale of Genji by Murasaki Shikibu, a work often hailed as the world's first novel. The Heian period also saw the development of waka poetry, the refinement of courtly aesthetics, and the creation of a distinctly Japanese art style. However, as the power of the imperial court waned, the influence of the military class or samurai began to rise, setting the stage for the next era of Japanese history. The feudal era of Japan began with the Kamakura period from 1185 to 1333. The Kamakura shogunate, established by Minamoto no Yoritomo, marked the start of Japan's feudal age. The samurai class became the dominant force in Japanese politics and society, with a strict code of honor and loyalty. This period also saw the growth of Buddhism, particularly Zen Buddhism, which resonated with the warrior ethos of the samurai. The Mongol invasions of Japan in 1274 and 1281 were significant events during this time. Although the Mongols were repelled, thanks in part to the kamikaze or divine wind, these invasions highlighted the growing external threats to Japan. Following the Kamakura period was the Muromachi period, also known as the Ashikaga period, which lasted from 1336 to 1573. The Ashikaga shogunate, based in Kyoto, struggled to maintain control over the increasingly powerful regional warlords known as daimyos. The Onin War, from 1467 to 1477, marked the beginning of the Sengoku period, a time of intense social upheaval, political intrigue, and near-constant military conflict. During this chaotic time, Japan was fragmented into numerous warring states, each ruled by a daimyo. Despite the turmoil, the period saw significant cultural developments, including the flourishing of tea culture, ink painting, and the No theater. The Sengoku period from 1467 to 1603 is also known as the Warring States period. It was a time of relentless civil war and political instability as powerful daimyos vied for control of Japan. Amid the chaos, three extraordinary leaders emerged to unify the country. Oda Nobunaga, a brilliant and ruthless strategist, began the process of unification by defeating rival daimyos and consolidating power. His successor, Toyotomi Hideyoshi, continued this work, eventually bringing most of Japan under his control. Hideyoshi also launched ambitious invasions of Korea in the 1590s, which, while ultimately unsuccessful, demonstrated Japan's growing military might. Finally, Tokugawa Ieyasu, a cunning and patient leader, completed the unification of Japan, establishing the Tokugawa shogunate in 1603. The early modern era began with the Azuchi Momoyama period, from 1573 to 1603, a brief but significant time named after the castles of Nobunaga, Azuchi, and Hideyoshi, Momoyama. This period saw the consolidation of power and the establishment of a centralized government, setting the stage for the long-lasting Tokugawa shogunate. The Edo period, also known as the Tokugawa period, spanned from 1603 to 1868. Under Tokugawa Ieyasu and his successors, Japan enjoyed a prolonged period of peace, stability, and isolation. The shogunate established strict controls over the daimyos and implemented a policy of national seclusion, or sakoku, limiting foreign influence and trade. Despite this isolation, Japan developed a vibrant urban culture, particularly in Edo, modern-day Tokyo. The merchant class thrived, and cultural pursuits such as ukiyo-e woodblock prints, kabuki theater, and haiku poetry flourished. The Edo period also saw the development of a rigid social hierarchy, with the samurai, peasants, artisans and merchants each occupying a specific place in society. Modern Japan began with the Meiji Restoration in 1868, a period of rapid and transformative change. The restoration of imperial rule under Emperor Meiji marked the end of the Tokugawa shogunate and the samurai class. Japan embarked on a program of modernization, adopting Western technologies, education systems, and military practices. The Meiji government also sought to build a modern economy, industrializing rapidly and establishing a constitutional government. Japan's newfound strength was demonstrated in its victories in the Sino-Japanese War, 1894-1895, and the Russo-Japanese War, 1904-1905, which marked the country's emergence as a major world power. The Taisho period, from 1912 to 1926, continued Japan's modernization, but was marked by increasing political instability. The period saw the rise of democratic movements and the influence of Western culture, as well as economic difficulties and social unrest. Despite these challenges, Japan continued to expand its empire, setting the stage for the turbulent Showa period. The Showa period, from 1926 to 1989, was one of the most tumultuous in Japanese history. It began with Japan's militarization and imperial expansion, leading to its involvement in World War II. Japan's defeat in the war and the devastation of Hiroshima and Nagasaki by atomic bombs in 1945 brought the Showa era to a turning point. After the war, Japan was occupied by Allied forces, led by the United States, and underwent significant political, economic, and social reforms. The post-war era saw Japan transform into a peaceful, democratic nation, and by the 1980s, Japan had become one of the world's leading economies, known for its technological innovation and cultural influence. The contemporary era began with the Heisei period from 1989 to 2019. This era started with the bursting of Japan's economic bubble, leading to a prolonged period of economic stagnation known as the Lost Decade. Despite these economic challenges, Japan remained a global technological and cultural powerhouse. The period also saw significant natural disasters, such as the 2011 Tohoku earthquake and tsunami, which led to the Fukushima nuclear disaster, highlighting the ongoing challenges Japan faces. Today, Japan is in the Reiwa period, which began in 2019 with the abdication of Emperor Akihito and the ascension of Emperor Naruhito. Japan continues to navigate a complex future, facing challenges such as an aging population, economic uncertainty, and regional security issues. Yet the country remains a major player on the global stage, known for its innovation, culture, and resilience. Japan's history is a story of resilience, adaptation, and cultural brilliance, a journey that continues to inspire the world.
From its mythical beginnings to its emergence as a global cultural force, this is the story of Korea, a land of resilience, innovation, and enduring spirit. The founding of Gojoseon, Korea's first kingdom, is attributed to Dangun Wangjeom, a demigod born from Hwanung, the son of the heavenly king, and a bear-turned-woman. Dangun is said to have established Gojoseon in 2333 BCE, marking the beginning of a unique Korean identity that would endure for thousands of years. Gojoseon developed in the northern regions of the Korean peninsula and parts of Manchuria. The kingdom's strategic location facilitated interactions with Chinese civilizations, leading to the introduction of iron culture, which significantly advanced agricultural and military technologies. These advancements were not just technical but also cultural, as they were often linked to shamanistic and religious practices. The introduction of iron around the 4th century BC marked a significant shift in Korean society. Iron tools and weapons enhanced agricultural productivity and military capability, leading to the expansion of Gojoseon's territory. However, this period also saw the rise of internal strife and challenges from external forces, particularly the Han Dynasty of China. In 194 BC, a Chinese refugee named Wyman overthrew the Gojoseon king and established Wyman Joseon. Wyman Joseon expanded Gojoseon's territory further into the Korean peninsula and parts of Manchuria. However, the rise of Wyman Joseon also attracted the attention of the Han dynasty, which sought to expand its influence in the region. In 108 BCE, after a prolonged conflict, Han China conquered Wyman Joseon, establishing four commanderies, the most prominent of which was Lilang, near modern-day Pyongyang. Following the collapse of Gojoseon, the Korean peninsula entered a period known as the Proto-Three Kingdoms, 1st century BC to 3rd century CE. During this time, several smaller states and tribal confederations emerged, eventually giving rise to the three kingdoms of Kukuyeo, Baekje, and Silla. Kukuyeo, founded in 37 BCE, rapidly grew into a formidable power in the northern regions. Kukuyeo's capital, Pyongyang, became a cultural and political center, with the kingdom extending its influence deep into Manchuria. Baekje, established in 18 BCE, was located in the southwestern part of the Korean peninsula. Baekje played a crucial role in the spread of Buddhism to Japan, influencing Japanese art, architecture, and religious practices. Silla, the last of the three kingdoms to emerge, was founded in 57 BCE in the southeast. The kingdoms of Kukuyeo, Baekje, and Silla constantly vied for dominance over the Korean peninsula, often forming and breaking alliances with each other and with external powers like China and Japan. Kukuyeo, at its height, controlled vast territories stretching from the northern Korean peninsula to Manchuria. It was a militaristic state, known for its massive fortresses and defensive structures, such as the Kukuyeo Wall, which protected its capital from invaders. Baekje, while militarily weaker than Kukuyeo, excelled in diplomacy and culture. The kingdom established strong ties with the Yamato court in Japan, facilitating the exchange of technology, art, and religious practices. Baekje artisans and scholars were instrumental in the spread of Buddhism and Chinese writing systems to Japan, leaving a lasting impact on Japanese culture. Silla, despite being the smallest of the three kingdoms, gradually gained strength through internal reforms and strategic alliances. In the 6th century, Silla's ruling elite adopted Buddhism as the state religion, leading to a cultural renaissance. The construction of monumental temples, such as Hwangryongsa, and the creation of Buddhist art flourished under Silla's patronage. In the 7th century, Silla sought to unify the Korean peninsula under its rule. To achieve this, Silla formed an alliance with the Tang dynasty of China, a powerful empire that had its own interests in the region. Baekje fell to the Silla-Tang alliance in 660 CE, followed by Kukuyeo in 668 CE. With the defeat of these two kingdoms, Silla effectively unified the Korean peninsula, marking the beginning of the unified Silla period, 668 to 935 CE. Unified Silla's capital, Gyeongju, became a center of art, religion, and learning. The city was adorned with grand Buddhist temples, pagodas, and statues, many of which still stand today. The construction of the Bulguksa Temple and the Shokhuram Grotto, both UNESCO World Heritage Sites, exemplifies the architectural and artistic achievements of this era. The production of Buddhist texts also led to advancements in printing technology, including the development of woodblock printing, which predates the invention of movable type in Europe. Unified Silla also saw the creation of a highly stratified society, with a rigid class system known as the bone rank system. This system determined a person's social status, occupation, and even marriage prospects, based on their lineage. By the late 9th century, the unified Silla kingdom began to weaken due to internal strife, corruption, and peasant uprisings. This decline led to the rise of regional powers, and in 918 CE, a military leader named Wang Geon established the Goryeo dynasty, unifying the Korean peninsula once again. In the 13th century, the Mongol Empire, under the leadership of Genghis Khan's successors, launched a series of invasions against Korea. After years of brutal warfare, Goryeo eventually became a tributary state of the Mongol Yuan dynasty, although it retained a degree of autonomy. The Mongol invasions had a profound impact on Korea, leading to widespread destruction and population displacement. Amidst this turmoil, a reformist movement emerged, led by scholars and officials who sought to address the corruption and inefficiency of the government. These reformers advocated for the implementation of Confucian principles, which emphasized moral governance, social harmony, and meritocracy. One of the most notable reformers was Zhong Du-jun, a Confucian scholar and politician who played a key role in the eventual establishment of the Joseon dynasty. In 1392, the Goryeo dynasty was overthrown by Yi Song-gi, a military general who established the Joseon dynasty. Yi Song-gi, who became King Teo, chose to establish his new capital at Honyang, modern-day Seoul, strategically located along the Han River. The Joseon dynasty, 1392 to 1897, is often considered the pinnacle of Korean civilization. One of the most significant achievements of the Joseon dynasty was the creation of Hangul, the Korean script, by King Sejong the Great in 1443. Before Hangul, Koreans used classical Chinese characters, which were difficult for the common people to learn. Hangul was designed to be simple and accessible, allowing for a wider spread of literacy and education. Today, Hangul is celebrated as one of the most scientifically designed writing systems in the world. In 1592, Japan, under the leadership of Toyotomi Hideyoshi, launched a massive invasion of Korea, known as the Imjin War or the Japanese invasions of Korea, 1592 to 1598. Despite initial successes, the Japanese forces were ultimately repelled by the combined efforts of Korean and Ming Chinese forces, as well as the legendary naval commander Admiral Yi Sun-sin, whose innovative use of the turtle ship, Jeobuksin, played a crucial role in the defense of Korea. In the 17th century, Korea faced another major threat from the Manchu invasions. The Manchus, who would later establish the Qing dynasty in China, invaded Korea twice in 1627 and 1636. The Joseon dynasty was forced to become a tributary state to the Qing, leading to a period of relative peace but also increased isolation. By the late 19th century, the Joseon dynasty was in a state of decline. In 1876, Japan forced Korea to sign the Treaty of Gangwon, which opened Korean ports to Japanese trade and marked the beginning of Korea's loss of sovereignty. Over the next few decades, Japan increasingly asserted control over Korea, culminating in the annexation of Korea in 1910. The Joseon dynasty came to an official end, and Korea became a Japanese colony. The period of Japanese colonial rule, 1910 to 1945, was one of the darkest chapters in Korean history. Under Japanese rule, Koreans were subjected to harsh repression, forced labor, and the suppression of their language and culture. Japanese authorities sought to assimilate Koreans into the Japanese Empire, banning the use of the Korean language in schools and public life, and replacing Korean names with Japanese ones. The March 1st movement in 1919, one of the most significant acts of resistance, saw millions of Koreans take to the streets to demand independence. The Provisional Government of the Republic of Korea was established in Shanghai in 1919, and Korean guerrilla fighters, such as those in Manchuria, carried out armed resistance against Japanese forces. Korea was liberated from Japanese rule on August 15, 1945, following Japan's defeat in World War II. However, liberation was quickly followed by division, as the Korean peninsula was split along the 38th parallel into two occupation zones, the Soviet-backed North and the American-backed South. Efforts to unify the peninsula under a single government failed, leading to the establishment of two separate states in 1948, the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, North Korea, and the Republic of Korea, South Korea. This division set the stage for the Korean War, which broke out on June 25, 1950, when North Korean forces, backed by the Soviet Union and China, invaded South Korea. The Korean War was a brutal and devastating conflict, resulting in millions of deaths and the destruction of much of the peninsula. The war ended in 1953 with an armistice, but no formal peace treaty was signed, leaving North and South Korea technically still at war. Under the leadership of President Syngman Rhee and later Park Chung-hee, South Korea embarked on a path of rapid economic development, known as the Miracle on the Han River. Through a combination of government-led industrialization, foreign aid, and the hard work of its people, South Korea transformed from one of the poorest countries in the world into a major global economy. The country developed key industries such as electronics, automobiles, shipbuilding, and textiles, and became a leader in global trade and technology. The democratization movement, which culminated in the June Democratic Uprising of 1987, played a crucial role in ending military rule and establishing a democratic government. Today, South Korea is recognized as one of the most advanced and dynamic countries in the world. It is a leader in technology, innovation, and education, and has a strong global presence in industries such as electronics, automobiles, and entertainment. South Korea has also become a cultural powerhouse, with the global spread of Korean popular culture, known as the Korean Wave or Hallyu. K-pop, Korean cinema, television dramas, and even Korean cuisine have gained international popularity, making South Korea a major player in the global cultural landscape. In contrast to South Korea's development, North Korea remains one of the most isolated and authoritarian countries in the world. Under the leadership of the Kim dynasty, Kim Il-sung, Kim Jong-il, and the current leader, Kim Jong-un, North Korea has pursued a policy of self-reliance, known as Yuche, and has developed a nuclear weapons program, leading to international tensions. The Korean peninsula remains divided, with the Demilitarized Zone, DMZ, serving as a stark reminder of the ongoing conflict and the challenges of achieving peace and reunification. As we look to the future, the story of Korea continues to inspire, with its rich heritage and enduring spirit guiding the way. Egypt, the land of the pharaohs, holds a unique place in the annals of history. A civilization that spanned over 3 millennia, it left behind an indelible legacy through its monuments, writings, and influence